What's up, everyone? It's Willette with Urbex and Coasters, and I am here in Humboldt State Park in Northern California. And, well, I'm just going to do one video for today with all the explorations. But our first find of the day is we have the fairy ring redwoods that are huge trees in themselves. So I think this is really cool. When I say fairy ring redwoods, I mean where they grow around where a tree used to stand and form a fairy ring. That's what I call that phenomenon of them doing that. But yeah. So this is our first pair of trees. So this pair of trees does sort of form a fairy ring. This is actually what caught my attention about this tree, because I was thinking that this was a hollow in the tree. So like a little cave. But it turns out it's not. But, that's okay, because the trees themselves are amazing. You've got a division that's there. But in here, we can see the ditch where the mother tree would have stood at one time. And then we see those two trees, two trees growing up out of it. So, it's where they're starting to form their fairy ring, but you also have the fact that these trees are huge themselves, so I think they're pretty cool. And right across the street from where I thought we had a little cave, we have one here, and it's huge. I can stand all the way up in here, and I can't reach the roof. So, as you can see, I was on my tippy toes, and I was not able to reach the roof here in this little cave, so I think that's really cool. We've got the flash on. We're looking inside this little cave now. You can see how high this thing goes. This is awesome. Showing all this off. Wow. Here's the view from up here. And now, yeah, so look at this. I can see some mushrooms in here. I can see a bunch of cool stuff in here, but the way these trees divide, it's super cool. So, we can look at the bottom of the tree here. We can see all those mushrooms that I referenced. Looking at all the stuff that's in here, we can see some spider webs. It's really cool. To just look at all this. I also would like to show the divide up here. So you can see where the trees split. You can see this one actually splits again up there. So you can see how the trees fuse together. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the idea of a fairy ring and the trees ultimately fusing together. So yeah. Why, hello there, little newt. Aww. So, something that I often say about these trees is that photos cannot do justice to their size. Well, over here, we have an opportunity to actually be able to show just the scale of these things. So, this is one that's hollowed out that fell. I'm standing up inside of it. I'm walking through it. And you get a sense just how thick these things are with me casually. Three points of contact, Willette. Woo! Yeah!
Let us through before you make it.
So we have talked some about our fairy rings. This tree is a prime example of that. You can see the stumps are still separate, but they merge up there. So you can see to some extent the stumps are still separate. So you have your fairy ring here and then going up there. And now we are going to walk through that tree. This is incredible. Three points of contact. The bigger they are, the more impressively they fall. And they're part of the ecosystem, so we're not gonna mess with these guys, because I mean, I know the video will not do it justice for how big this thing is, but I mean, I'm holding it at about my chest level, and you can see how much bigger this thing is. But honestly, more impressive than that tree, I think how this tree fell is even more interesting to look at. This is an area where we're not allowed to climb around like we were at the other spot. But we can certainly explore around. Just think what would happen to me if that decided to settle. If any of this stuff decided that it was time to settle, I would be dead. So right here what we have is an albino redwood. This is a lot bigger than the other albino redwoods I have seen, say at Huddart Park or Parisma Creek Redwoods Preserve that are maybe like that tall. So like maybe a tall human being might be taller than the albino redwoods I've seen elsewhere. This one, it's huge. It's still tiny compared to its host tree up there because, as you may notice, the needles are white on this. That is because they are not producing melanin. So it does not have the ability to do photosynthesis. So it needs to rely on the host tree in order to be able to get the nutrients that it needs. And you can see its host tree right there. And since this one has such a big host tree, even though it can't do its own photosynthesis, it is able to grow pretty big just because of its host tree. So we've got a big tree here that's downed. And I'm just casually showing you what would have been the top of one of those caves that we've spent a lot of time in. And you can see how big this cave would have been with how far back it goes. So, just for something corny, roadside, we've got the Eternal Treehouse here. It very much has a sort of fey-like feel to it, but you can see that this stump here is surrounded by a bunch of redwoods that are giving it that fairy ring appearance that we've been talking about. So we've got a fairy ring around this stump, so these roots are still alive today. And if we go inside, we see this. I do have a problem with some of the terminology that is used in this, but you know, it's free to go inside of this, and you know, it has a very feeling like you are a fey creature. So I think it's cool to be able to come in here and do this.